I'd like to call this June 4th, 2020 regular Board of Education meeting to order. Mr. Anagnostou, would you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mrs. Hausen?
Here.
4 present.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to jump around on our agenda this afternoon. Almost lost my pen. So we have a letter that I'm going to read into the record from Mr. Grozan, and it begins, back in 2012, the voters in Strongsville passed an $81 million bond to build a new middle school and renovate the high school. After being a member of the school's facility committee for 3 years, I decided to run for the school board in 2013 because I wanted to help make sure we built the best middle school and renovated high school for all the kids in Strongsville. I was fortunate enough to be elected, and then we got to work. During that time, I made it my personal priority to verify that every part of the construction got done right. Not counting board meetings, I attended construction meetings once and often twice a week for nearly 3 years. I'm proud of the beautiful buildings that will benefit all the children of Strongsville for many years to come. I'm proud of the fact that during my term, we made facilities a permanent board committee so that the brick and mortar of our schools will always be a priority. During my time on the school board, we prioritized our kids' education. We went from having a few outdated computers to becoming a one-to-one district where every student has a Chromebook. I'm proud of the way we prioritized extracurriculars, giving kids a chance to play all sports, but especially my personal love, soccer, on proper fields with turf. The class of 2020 just graduated and will begin the next part of their lives. I'm very proud of their accomplishments and wish them well. The end of the school year is a good time to think about what's next. After thoughtful conversation with my family and due to personal family commitments, I am submitting my resignation from the Strongsville School Board effective June 4th, 2020. I want to thank everyone I had the pleasure of working with for the last 6 years. I especially want to thank Cameron Ryba and George Anagnostou for their support, dedication, and friendship. I want to thank my family, my wife Laura and children William and Celia, for their love and support. Thank you, and go Mustangs. And it is signed George Grozan, and it is effective June 4th, 2020. Before we go to the vote, I just want to publicly thank George for his years of service. I had the chance to talk to him earlier this week when he tendered his resignation, and we reminisced a little bit, and I remember when the construction project first got started, he went out and he had the copies of the architectural drawings made. He had a set made for him. He had a set made for me. They are big, large, they're larger than fool's cap paper, and I had at least 4 inches thick of architect drawings, and we went through them page by page, inch by inch. And I joke that every inch of mortar in that middle school he made sure was laid properly. Every window is at a 90-degree angle, and it is a beautiful thing for the students of Strongsville. So I wanted to publicly thank George for all of his efforts and all of his hard work these past years, and we wish him and his family well. With that, on our agenda, we have number 9, Board of Education Other, Acceptance of Resignation of Board Member George A. Grozan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Motion by Mr. Roberts, second by Mrs. Hausum. Mr. Anagnostou, would you take the roll?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Once again, we thank George for all of his service, and we look forward to continuing making sure the brick and mortar of our school district is maintained for many years to come. With that, I think it's appropriate, I'm going to turn it over to George, and we'll announce a little bit about our next steps in choosing a new board member.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Before I get into that, I just want to publicly thank Mr. Grozan for his service and dedication as well. He was involved in a lot, but as you mentioned, his biggest accomplishment was the construction of the middle school and renovation of the high school. I came in the middle of it, and from when I started, he was here twice a week at our construction meetings, those mornings, and he would attend every walkthrough, and he made sure he knew everything that was going on, and also pushed back the construction company to make sure we were spending our dollars efficiently and getting the best things in there and saving money so we could do other projects such as the turf. Thank you, George, and it was a pleasure serving with you. So moving on to the process. So we cannot appoint within 10 days of the vacancy. The 10-day mark with effective date today is June 14th, but we must appoint at the next Board of Education meeting outside of that 10-day window, but not exceed 30 days. Any candidate that's interested must be 18 years old, a citizen of the city, and a registered voter. A preliminary timeline that we have drawn up was the application will be posted tomorrow on the website, or it can be picked out up front. Our building is actually closed tomorrow, but I will tape this envelope to the outside with the applications in there, so if anyone wants to come pick up an application, you can get one physically or print it off the website once it's made available. From there, the deadline to apply will be Thursday, June 11th at 4 p.m. To submit the application, along with a resume and a letter of intent. You can email it to me, my email address on the website, or it can be dropped off here. Just note that the building's closed on Friday. So if you drop it off after hours, there's a black mailbox right in front that's locked, so drop it off in the mailbox out front. And then tentatively, we'll hold a special board meeting on Saturday, June 13th, to conduct interviews with the intention to appoint at the June 25th meeting.
Any questions, any conversation? Okay, well, that leads us into district goals, and our district goals remain the same. It is student achievement and growth, financial prudence, and community engagement. And I look forward to having a healthy group of candidates for treasurer and helping us understand how they can help us
Board
with.
member,
What did I say?
treasurer. You got a couple years left.
I did not mean that. I look forward to having a healthy group of candidates for board member deliver their applications to our treasurer. And I look forward to seeing how they can help us with our three goals of achievement, financial prudence, and community engagement. Next on our agenda is public comment. Cameron, do we have any online?
No public comments were submitted, and I do not believe anybody is outside.
Do we, Scott, are you able to peek? Excellent. Treasurer's report. You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. I have one item for your consideration tonight, and it's be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the medical and prescription premiums with Medical Mutual be approved as presented in the exhibit at an increase of 3.3% effective July 1st, 2020. This is our first increase in 18 months. Before, we were on a calendar year, January, December 31st. But once we switched to the consortium last year, our timeline changed from, our calendar year changed July 1st to June 30th. Because of that, we were able to go 18 months with the current rate. A 3.3 increase is, to me, it's great. The industry average is about 8 to 10, so we were under that. Our recommended increase was 5.29%, but because we are self-insured and we do have a cash reserve that's in with our self-insurance fund that exceeds our, the necessary amounts, we're able to offset some of that increase.
That is good news. I mean, 0 would be better, but
Right.
we'll take the 3%. And I do want to compliment you on the management. We are reaping the rewards that we hoped for by joining the consortium and by remaining self-insured.
George,
And-
may I ask a question?
Sure.
Any questions for George?
Can I just ask for clarification? It's 3.03%, correct?
Yeah, 3.03%.
Thank you.
Any others for George? Next up is Superintendent's Report. Dr. Ryba.
Thank you, Mr. Micko. Each year, there's many policies that we have to comply with and laws that we have to comply with that require annual reports. So we have 2 of those that are on the agenda today. To go a little bit out of order, I'm going to ask our Director of Dining Services, Chef Mike, to come to the podium, and he is going to share an annual report on how our food service program did this year, as well as compliance with nutritional guidelines, whether that be before or after school, during school, or in our vending machines, which is a part of our requirements through policy and state law. So, Chef Mike, we'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to present to you the Strongsville Food Service Year-End Update. So I just wanted to begin by noting that we were trending to have the best year in the history of the relationship between Chartwells and the district, until the pandemic hit, of course. Keynotes, we were able to increase a la carte purchases. We increased $100,000 in sales revenue compared to the last school year. That stemmed from cash payments for reduced and full pay lunches, extra purchases through snacks and beverages, and catering dollars, which through the month of February, we were just shy of $20,000 in catering. We continued the DoD Produce Program Award. We were able to gain just under $18,000 above the previous school year. And through the month of February, we were able to use just about $49,000 worth of it. And what that is it's a partnership between the USDA and the Department of Defense, giving us additional commodity entitlement dollars to use towards fresh fruits and vegetables, which most of the fruits and vegetables are grown within 100 miles of our area, so locally grown. A little fun event we put together at the high school. It was called Student Choice. The students were given the chance to test a couple of new food concepts, and they were able to vote for which one they liked the most. I chose to promote the Chat House, which is an Indian-themed concept, and then also the Roost. The sandwiches that were introduced were a banh mi sandwich with a Napa cabbage slaw, and what that consisted of was some sliced cucumbers, shredded carrots, shredded cabbage, with a sweet Thai chili sauce, and that was on top of a whole muscle breaded chicken breast with a side of mint mayonnaise. And I paired that up with pickled beets, which are sliced beets and onions, marinated in a cider vinegar, sugar, black pepper. And that went against the Nashville hot chicken sandwich, which is a breaded chicken sandwich with a homemade spicy Nashville sauce. And we gave each student half of a sandwich of each. And at the end, they put a toothpick in a bowl in front of the sign for each sandwich. And the Nashville hot chicken sandwich ended up winning. Unfortunately, we didn't get to roll it out on the menu because of the COVID-19. So as soon as we come back next school year, we'll make sure we start out with that.
So is that the idea, Mike, that the winner would become a part of the menu?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Okay, next one. Let's see. So throughout the school year, we received many thank you notes specifically from the elementary students. And I just wanted to share a couple with you here, the cute little ones. The one in the middle says, "Thank you, cafeteria staff, for giving us food, because if we didn't have you, we wouldn't be able to eat." And there's a cute little picture of the student at the table and us by the serving table, and it looks like we're 6 feet apart.
That's right.
It was cute.
Foreshadowing.
One of the other ones says, "You make lunchtime safe. You make sure that we stay on task and help us when we need help. You make lunch so much fun." And finally, cafeteria staff, thank you for making so much food for us. It is so good. Also, thank you for cleaning up for us every day and everything else. Thank you again for doing everything for us and for not making us hungry. So in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 3313.814, I wanted to present to you the annual report of the district's compliance with the nutrition standards. So, piece number 1 is the wellness policy compliance. All foods and beverages sold on school properties before, during, or up to 30 minutes after the regular school day meet or exceed nutritional standards that are required by the USDA. No foods or beverages other than associated with the district's food service program are sold before or during school hours in accordance with the board wellness policy. Standards do not apply during non-school hours or weekends or sporting events and off-campus fundraising. And finally, fundraising food sales should encourage and support wellness practices. So we are in compliance with all of those for piece number 1. And those were all confirmed by our OD program specialist through our administrative review, which we received last school year. Also, everything that we do serve is run through the Smart Snack calculator provided from the USDA. And all of our menus are run through the Nutrition program, which is a web-based nutrition software. Piece number 2, sale and consumption policy compliance. Before school, during school, and up to 30 minutes after the regular school day, no foods shall be sold to students at any location within the building other than the lunchroom sales operated by the food service department. Food sales to staff during the school day and to students 30 minutes after the end of each school day are at the discretion of each school's wellness committee. And we are in compliance with that piece as well. Finally, the third piece, vending and school store policy compliance. All products vended or sold must be in compliance with the board wellness policy, time and place guidelines. No food or beverages are to be sold or distributed which will compete with the district's food service program, which may result in fiscal penalties to the district. And finally, no foods or beverages shall be sold to students at any location before school, during school, or up to 30 minutes after each school day. And we are in compliance with that as well. Moving on to a fun little fact here, healthy, convenient, fast. In order to make good decisions about food our students eat, we believe that we need 2 things, healthy options and the insight to choose wisely and quickly. So this is our on-the-go concept here, featured on the screen. It places a bright spotlight on delicious food options made with wholesome quality ingredients that students love. So these are some salads that I put together for the emergency feeding last month. And it was very easy to just pack into the boxes because it comes with a lid and it's easy to transport. So. Moving back to catering, we did pretty well this past school year. We trended just shy of $20,000, and it comes from opportunities like this. We did a lot of events such as the new student buddy lunch, PTA staff appreciation dinners, Student of the Month breakfast, parent-teacher conference, leadership lunches, student advisory council lunches, pizza parties, birthday parties, Veteran Day breakfast, coffee services, and so on and so forth. Okay? I don't know how that, if that's going to continue as well as it did this past school year, but we'll just have to wait and see. So emergency feeding at the middle school. This has been going on since the mid-March. What we did was we started by giving a bagged breakfast and lunch to the families each day, and then we transitioned into a boxed meal that had 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches. So the students would come through each Wednesday at the middle school, and that would get them through until the next Wednesday. So what you see in the picture here, that second one on the top, it was kind of before all the strict CDC guidelines were rolled out.
Good clarification, Mike.
As you can see in the photo next to it, we had masks on and we took all the proper precautions. So with that being said, we served over 5,000 emergency meals since then. And I was able to work with the Home Depot to get $50 credit on the boxes that we use each month, or actually each week. So that was very nice of Home Depot. Through the USD-approved waivers, we'll be able to continue the emergency feeding through the months of June and July. The federally funded state-administered program allows us to serve free healthy meals to children and teens during the summer months when school is not in session. And finally, reopening with COVID-19. So nobody really knows what's going to happen as of right now, but I'm working with Chartwells, and they are working on a playbook that will give us recommendations on protocols and standard operating procedures that we can utilize, and that should be coming out mid-June. Okay. Any questions for me at this time?
Anyone? Is Mike on our work groups?
Yes,
Yes.
he's on the District Oversight Committee leading food services.
That's all I wanted to confirm is, obviously with your resources with Chartwell, your input will be valuable. So I appreciate your participation in the work group.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, I appreciate it.
I will remain
Laura, did you have a
solution-focused and
Mike,
I'm
I was just
sorry.
going to, that's all right. I was just going to ask real quick, can you clarify which students are eligible for the emergency food? And if, if they haven't applied yet, how they can?
Sure. So going back to that piece of it, it's for all families struggling with food insecurity. So no matter what category they may fall under, the waivers that are out there through the USDA, everybody is able to take advantage of the program. So nobody is turned away. There is a sign-up online that really kind of helps us prepare for how many students to plan on. So.
And I think that's a good message to share. Our intent is to help everyone who needs to be helped. At the same time, we need to balance having too much ready, and then food goes to waste, and not having enough ready, in which case we're not helping the people who need it. So where is the sign-up available again?
So Cameron, can you help me out with that? I know that you,
Sure. So there's not a sign-up online, but what we've done is we've shared a communication with all of our families that received the food service option over the last few months. And to continue, I'm assuming numbers were pretty similar this past Wednesday?
yes,
So we're feeding about 90-ish families,
about 90, 95, yes.
90, 95 a week. But as Mike said, if anybody just wants to reach out and share an email to me, that's what we've been passing along, and Mike's been getting them on the list. So there's not a form or survey or anything you need to fill out, just
Drop an email.
Drop me an email, and I give it to Chef Mike, and Chef Mike shares with them all the details and gets them on the list. But yes, please communicate with me. That way they can prepare accordingly because it's pretty consistent, 90 to 95 families, and they can have that each week ready. And I just want to say, you know, thanks to Chef Mike. I know coming and presenting is not your favorite thing to do in the world, and I appreciate the time and energy and thought you put into it. But his love and passion is in the cafeteria and in the kitchen and supporting, and it was awesome to see the $100,000 gain from last year. I mean, that really is a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
For what's been done in the catering. And, you know, Mike in the food service department caters every event that I have, not because it's in-house, but because they provide better quality food than anyone else that I would go outside as a competitor to get, and it's phenomenal every time. And so the other part is that, you know, the summer meal program just doesn't happen. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that Mike had to do, and he collaborated with George and Jenny to work on staffing. And as I shared with the board, we're able to do this based on our projections, based on student participation at no cost to the district. So it's that balance, right? We want to provide a service for our families, but we also have to be financially prudent to do this and the work that Mike did and take advantage of the waivers that are out there this summer and to do it at no cost to the taxpayers. I think that's something to be celebrated. And yes, things will definitely be different next year in food services, and we're understanding of that, but we're happy to have Mike on our team leading the way.
Good to hear. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, everybody. Take care, stay safe.
Okay, continuing on to the first topic now is the Business Advisory Committee annual update. So a handful of years ago, there was always a policy about a Business Advisory Committee, but they actually put it into law that every school district must have a Business Advisory Committee, and you must meet X amount of times, and you have to provide an annual report to the board. So that could be in writing or that can be in person in meetings. So I thought I'd share with you an update of what we've been working on. And as a school district, we are actually a part of two business advisory committees, one local and one regional. We're very blessed that we have such a vibrant business community here that we wanted to take advantage of the expertise. So I want to talk to you first about the Strongsville City Schools Business Advisory Committee. So it's made up of a group of members. We've got two board members. It's a board committee. So two board members that are on that committee. As well as local business leaders, district administration, building administration, and we evolved to include high school staff. Because what we learned in our first couple meetings a year ago was that we couldn't work in isolation. We really wanted to focus our energies in helping students at the high school level that currently are not on a path for post-graduation. So what we learned and discovered is we started a conversation, and Rich was there for that first meeting, about, you know, Ohio Means Job Seal just came out. And here are the skills that they say students should have when they graduate from high school to be prepared for the workforce. And we talked about with a small group of just business leaders, and they said, absolutely, this is something that kids need, you know, as they go into the workforce. Communication skills, whether written or verbal, you know, for some of them for some job markets, it was I need a drug-free employee workforce, I need responsibility, people to show up on time and be dependable, people that are good collaborators. But how do we do that rather than just filling out a sheet of paper and saying, yes, I have these kids or these skills? So they came up with the idea and the high school came up with an idea in collaboration of we have students that are not on the college track, and we have students that are not enrolling in Polaris, and we feel that we're preparing them with a diploma, but they don't know where to go outside after high school other than to have a job that may be difficult to earn a gainful or meaningful wage. So we created a plan to look at, you know, pathways from the high school to that workforce to develop job readiness skills based on curriculum and teaching that we do in the high school, plus mentorship and real-world experiences, whether it be shadowing, an internship, or externship experiences. So what we've been working on this whole year, and I feel like Mike, it was all ready to go, and then we had the pandemic, is starting with our sophomore class. So we have identified our sophomores that will now be juniors next year, we have identified a group of students that we feel would be great candidates for this program. And we will, we are working on looking at their career interests. That's what stopped. So we had them identified. We had a parent meeting scheduled. We had a student meeting scheduled. And I think that was for like March 18th or something like that. But we've pivoted and we've got Plan B, which I'll share in a minute. So sophomore year was about identifying the cohort, developing some career interests. We have a program in the district called Naviance where students can look at specific, it starts with kind of big picture, where are some fields, and then it gets into details of where they may have an interest moving forward. In their junior year, they were to participate in a year-long, the focus there was building skills within high school coursework. So the first semester would be a specific communications course that we will eventually add as a requirement for all high school students, but we were starting next year with this cohort of adding a communications course to their coursework. And in the second semester, the kind of sister course to that, or partner course, is that there would be a job readiness, life skills, career skills, where students would take that big picture skills inventory or career interest inventory and really start to explore 2 or 3 areas of interest. To see, is actuarial work really where I want to go, or am I more interested in outdoors work or landscaping work or whatever it may be? And that would be then matching those interests to look at partner businesses to say, let's take a field trip. We're not shadowing, we're not mentoring, we're just going on a field trip to see, like, does this really, sometimes things sound great on paper, and then you go spend a day there or a few hours, and you're like, that's not for me. So that was really what the junior year was about, and then building connections with mentors. It was important, and the group took a lot of work in saying, we want to identify students by the end of their junior year, their mentors, build kind of a summer boot camp program to work with them, develop that mentorship, and then have an internship placement or job share placement for them their senior year. So that senior year, as it says there, it would be that heavy mentor connection, job shadowing, internship, and that would start the second semester. And then the goal would be that by the time they graduate, we know they'll have the skills based on the program that they went through, but hopefully they may even have a pathway. So when we work with specific businesses, they have great pathway programs for students to get enrolled, but parents may not have the exposure or understanding, or kids may not know what's out there, that manufacturing back in the 80s is not manufacturing in 2020. And also wonderful businesses in our business park that will pay for students to get their associate's degree or college degree as a part of working with the company. So the pie in the sky idea is that kids would graduate and have a wonderful opportunity to move into with a high school diploma that can build a career for them moving forward. As I said, we've had to pivot a little bit. So what we've decided to do is we are going to delay by a semester. What that means is when we come back to school next year, in whatever format that is, we are going to hold all of the enrollment, parent meetings, whether it's virtual or socially distanced, and student meetings, and get kids that are interested to be in the cohort selected in the first semester. And the second semester, we are going to utilize the communications course, and the job readiness career exploration course will be distributed throughout their junior year, or senior year rather. So we'll just move those on, but we're still excited about moving forward with it, because if we don't move forward with it, we're behind another year, and we didn't want to wait. So that is the work that we've been doing with our local business advisory committee. We meet 4 times a year typically, more if needed, and we'll get that back up and going, whether virtually or in person here in the near future. So any questions on what we've been working on or the program for the Strongsville Business Advisory Council?
Hey, Cameron, I have a question. First, I think this is fantastic that we're having this commitment with the community, but also this pathway for the students to go down. What I was curious was, how are the students identified as potential candidates for the cohort?
So we looked at a couple criteria. The first was, as I shared, in the middle of your sophomore year, you apply to go to Polaris. So we have students that we identified as not applying to go to Polaris. And then based on their coursework, we worked with the high school administration and the guidance counselors to say, which students are not taking the necessary coursework that would make them eligible for college. And then what we set, once we put those two parameters on, then we set a GPA requirement to say, we want students that are engaging in school and engaging in their work, and that, you know, when we build partnerships with businesses, we want to have a fulfilling partnership on both sides. So I'd have to look, I believe the GPA was a minimum of 2.0. Thank you, Rich. So we said students that at least had a 2.0 GPA, that was the other filter, and I think it ended up being 70 or 80 students that were in the sophomore class that would be eligible. And then it would be based on student interest. So we're going to identify, we're going to invite, and we're going to share that this is a pretty cool program that you can get involved in and help support, you know, not only high school but future. But ultimately, you have to engage and desire that it's something as a parent and as a student that this is something you want to do. So the fourth layer would be you actually committing and deciding you want to enroll in the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Cameron, I was just going to comment, you know, I am really pleased with how this is developing. It's been really fantastic the way we use the Business Advisory Council as a vehicle, and it addresses needs from our business people, but it also it does a nice job of filling needs in the high school. And it really did, it was a group effort, and everybody was able to become involved and offer input. And I think through that, the program itself is better than if it was done in a traditional fashion where it's separate groups, but they never work together. And it really was, it was fun to see how the different groups worked. I did want to give a shout out to Brian Tamino and to Sean Collins for doing a lot of that work, for crafting the school portion of it, but also to all the various business people. You know, we have a nice cross-section. We had, his name fails me, but from Avery Dennison, a gentleman from that, which would be the manufacturing. We had Southwest General Hospital represented. We had a cross-section of, you know, it wasn't just one kind of industry.
Technology, construction,
Right.
healthcare, yeah, banking.
And it was nice to see, because in past incarnations of the Business Advisory Council, they've struggled to say, what are we doing, other than fulfilling a checkbox because Ohio Revised Code requires us to have a Business Advisory Council. There wasn't anything for them to do, but I really think they'll be proud that when we look back on this will actually have a lot of impact for our students and community.
I appreciate those comments, Rich. And the interesting thing with this is that we have every meeting, we have more people that want to join, at least in terms of our staff. You know, it'll be, well, I'm the counselor at the high school that works and develops these career programs. I need to be in that meeting. Or I'm the English teacher that's going to teach that communications course. I want to be in that meeting. So it's been exciting to see. Sometimes, you know, committees, you're like, okay, I got to serve on the committee. But this one people have been very excited about. And it's been great as a superintendent to give the parameters and let them have at it. Because they've done, as you said, Brian and Sean and Megan and a bunch of other people have done a tremendous amount of work of problem solving. And once it gets up and Susan Harb has been instrumental, and once it gets up and going, it's going to be great.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Please.
You said that the parameters were not going to Polaris, not on a college course, and then above 2.0. Do we have a number of how many students meet the first 2 but fall below the 2.0?
I do have that data. I don't have it from memory right now, but yes, we do have that, yeah.
Thank you. And are there other districts in the regional group that you're also part of here that have similar programs?
Not like this one. There's other programs that are out there that are a couple years ahead of us in terms of the work they're doing. They're predominantly on the east side of Cleveland. And those have been, like Brian Tamino has worked with an administrator over there who oversees the career development program. So it's been great. She's basically given us the playbook for once we get this started, if you want to do a summer boot camp, here's what we've done. Here's what we've done to build partnerships with the local businesses and what we, kind of expectations from the business partner and expectations from the student. So we've learned from them and collaborated from them. Of the school districts within the Southwest Regional, Berea has some interesting programs because they have a print shop. I think it may have evolved a little bit from where it was, but they have something similar, but it's on property and it's like its own entrepreneurial, correct me, Richard, if I say anything incorrect, but they've got something similar to this idea, correct?
Absolutely. It was, they have and it's one of their on-campus Polaris programs, but they run, it started out as a print shop, but it's almost a promotional items, so they can do, signs, banners, tchotchkes, what have you. But those skills are part of the program, but that's not the end of the program. The skills are business skills, entrepreneurship, marketing, selling, et cetera. But it's a neat program because they're a functioning promotions shop, and they usually have to cut off much earlier than you'd expect that these are all the orders we're going to fulfill. But like for Berea, anytime they need banners for sports or any activity or what have you, they now go to the on-site promo shop.
But to my knowledge, besides that, this would be unique within our geographic area. Yeah, thank you. So the last part is we are a member also of the Southwest Regional Business Advisory Council. So this is something that when the law became more specified, Polaris stepped up and said, hey, we collaborate in so many other areas. Why don't we create a regional business advisory council? And this really supports us, but it really supports those communities that may not have the business parks and the business sector that we do in Strongsville. So we, all of the Polaris affiliated districts are a part of it. It has over 70 business affiliations. There's community. We have, people that are on city council on there or different city officials or as well as school representatives. And so as you can see there, really the structure of this is continuing to evolve, but has spent a lot of time focusing on meaningful discussions between business partners and school folks about those employment skills, the workforce challenges. They have guest speakers that come in and talk about, manufacturing or other aspects of industry, of what students are needed and employees that they're looking for, and how we can bridge what we're doing in schools, because there is a disconnect. There's a little bit of a disconnect between what we're doing in schools and what they're looking for employees. And so how can we continue to build those partnerships? Polaris has been great at, and again, Rich, I'm sure you can add more detail with it, but as we talked about, developing those partnerships where students have a job ready when they graduate if they participate in X experiences. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend all of the meetings this year as I have in the past due to prior commitments. But it is a nice, large regional group and networking group that you can see beyond just your own community of the things that we need to work on and develop. So Rich, I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to share?
I think you got it, you encapsulated it real well. The idea was to allow that consortium to work together. I know, like it's almost a theme, but COVID comes along and it messes up with the schedule, et cetera. But I know that one of the goals is to work with the various members and say what is our mission to accomplish. The first year spent was a lot of introductory, just some getting to know each other and what our strengths are. So I know next year that's going to be one of the goals is, how can we help our business partners?
Yeah. Any questions on the Business Advisory Council or Committee update? So I look forward when we start meeting again to our new members that will be a part of that. And I think you're going to see the exciting work that's happening and look forward to your input and insight on that committee as well. And before I move to curriculum, I did want to just add my appreciation and gratitude for George Grozan and the work that he's done for our district. He came in to my office late last week to share that what he was pondering, and as I shared with him, what a legacy to look back on of what you've been able to do for our district. And we've talked about the number of meetings that he's been at and the support that he's given, but to to be a part of something that you know is going to live on and support generations of kids in the facilities. And to see where we're at today in terms of our district operations and facilities, it really is no discredit to anybody else, but it's night and day. And sometimes you need an outside push and outside expertise to get you moving in the right direction so you can see a new light where you need to go. And he was that person that helped us as a district. So as he said in his letter, I appreciate his friendship, guidance, and support, and nothing but the best to Laura and George and his family. Moving on to curriculum, we have two.
Mr. Wright, before we move on, I just wanted to add one more thing. I was going to save it for the end. I forgot to mention during the timeline. So whoever fulfills the seat will serve through December 2021, and then they would have, if they want to continue, they would have to run in the general election of 2021. So I forgot to mention that earlier.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Yep.
Moving on to curriculum, we have two items for your consideration. The first being the 2020-21 student fees. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the student fee list be approved and adopted if effective for the 2021 school year. This list has been shared with the board members in previous updates. And as I shared, and I would like to share with our parents, Aaron Green, our director of curriculum, Brian Tamino, our coordinator of secondary curriculum, every year they do a tremendous job going back and forth, talking to staff, talking to teachers. Do we still need this? What is the dollar amount? Let's see how it's allocated. And we've reduced our fees each and every year and looked at what is a district responsibility to pay for versus what are consumable student fees that need to be paid for. And the other part that I'm excited about, and this came from feedback from a variety of sources, but we sat down and took a look at that we have a group of students at the high school level that never set foot on our campus. It may be because they attend College Credit Plus full-time, or they attend Polaris and College Credit Plus. And we had some parents ask the questions last year about, why am I being charged these fees for being on campus when I'm never on campus? And how are we, when you lock down Chromebooks because they have to be within the domain of Strongsville City Schools, I can't use that Chromebook I'm paying for when I go to Tri-C or when I go to Polaris. So Erin and her team went through that, created a separate fee structure for students, and Dave created a Chromebook policy for students that are never on campus that will significantly reduce, if not eliminate, most of the fees for our students that are completely getting their education on alternative sites. So we're excited to add that to the student fee list and give that savings to our families. The second thing on the agenda is the Strongsville High School Athletic Handbook. You guys approved all of the other handbooks last meeting. We had some additional updates to do to this one. So be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Strongsville High School Athletic Handbook for the 2021 school year be approved. Any questions for curriculum?
I'll just note that the athletic handbook is half as large, so perhaps twice as many people will read it.
And one of the things, Rich, that I just wanted to mention is we do have an athletic council as a school district that we work with, athletic administrators and building administrators. And we are working on developing everything everything we develop will be, moving forward, will be 7 to 12 athletics. So we wanted to move away from middle school had these documents and high school had this. So everything moving forward would be 7 to 12. Whether it be forms, final forms usage, whether it be the handbook, et cetera. And our athletic director, Denny Ziegler, has been directed that he needs to oversee that as the head athletic administrator of our district to make sure we have consistency there. And with that, I'll turn it over to our assistant superintendent, Jenny, for the human resource report.
Thank you, Dr. Ryba. While on the topic of athletics, I just wanted to also share that Denny Ziegler, our athletic director, has been working diligently with our coaches right now to try to facilitate some skills reopening and facilitate some skills training. So if you are a parent of an athlete at the varsity level, high school level, be on the lookout for through final forms because he's going to be sending out some information for that soon. So I thought I'd just share that. Under human resources, under C1, I have the following items for your consideration. Under C1, resignation of a non-certificated staff member. Under C2, please pleased to announce some appointments for certificated staff members. We're busy in the hiring process now and filling some of our positions. Continuing under C2, we have the appointment of a non-certificated staff, appointments of certificated staffs for summer school. We are excited that we are able to offer some elementary summer school for some students virtually. We have appointments for certificated English language online services through our Title III Limited English Proficiency Federal Grant. So 3 of our EL teachers are going to be providing some additional services for students throughout the summer, so that's exciting as well. We have appointments for extended school year. I believe we're one of the only programs to get approval for extended school year services, so we have appointments for certificated staff and non-certificated staff. Under C3, changes in status for non-certificated staff. These are employees that are recalled from reduction in force. Under C4, we have additional time for our administrative staff for summer 2020 with all the work that our administrators are putting into our work groups in preparation for what next year will look like. I'm recommending additional time. Additional time for non-certificated summer. This is the program that Mike is overseeing that he just talked about. We have food service personnel, and we also have technology assistants there to help clean and prepare technology for our classrooms. And under C5, medical leave for administrative staff and medical leaves for non-certificated staff. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Jenny? I will just, for the public that are watching at home, we are very cognizant of the environment we're in right now, and we do have the idea of a temporary hiring freeze per se, and the board and the administration discussed it at length. We probably put in more hours on this topic on last month than any other topic. We are hiring some additional staff next year for the high school. It is the correct thing to do. It is financially prudent, but the alternatives to that would be to drastically reduce opportunities for our high school students. So all of this hiring, if anybody's keeping track at home, is paid for, is financially prudent. Where I don't like to say we're saving dollars per se, but we are spending fewer dollars overall due to retirements and bringing on new staff. So it is financially prudent. George has run the numbers at our request 3, 4, 5 times, and we are still well within our criteria. And acknowledging that we are in with the pandemic, we are in times where caution is prudent. But we did continue that caution. But I am excited for the new positions, especially in the German language for our German speakers.
Thank you, Jenny. One last item under technology is Southeast Security SmartNet 2020 Cisco phone system maintenance. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the agreement between Southwest Security and Strongsville City Schools for SmartNet support be approved to provide Cisco phone system support. Advanced parts replacement software support includes maintenance, minor and major updates. This is a 1-year agreement for the period of June 22nd, 2020 through June 21st, 2021 at an annual cost of $49,474.28 as found in Exhibit B. Any questions on technology? This is an annual item that you will see every June that helps with our phone system maintenance and software.
Can you tell us a little more about it, Cameron?
I could, but we are running a little long in this meeting, so I will defer to a later time.
So I know nobody else finds it exciting, but Jim Hamelick and I discussed it, and it was very exciting. But we did go over the details, and I'm happy that we're surgical about it. If you go in the details, some of the contracts end early. And the reason they end early is because we're going to be replacing those parts with new parts. So there's no reason to have a warranty or an extended service contract on stuff that we're going to replace in most of the cases in November. So those are very surgical or very granular to make sure we're saving the dollars we can. What this pays for is the insurance that when something breaks, we can fix it quickly. And if it's something as important as our telephones for the entire district, we have over 800 separate telephones throughout the district. We need to make sure that those are available and working.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, that brings us to number 8, the consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means all items in the agenda marked with an asterisk are adopted by one single motion unless requested otherwise. Do I have any requests? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Roberts, second by Mrs. Hausum. Any discussion? Hearing none. George?
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 9, Board of Education Other. We once again thank Mr. Grozan for his service and look forward to selecting a capable candidate to be the next board member of our Board of Education. Any others? Well, I would be remiss if we didn't thank everybody. We're going to start with the students who graduated last Sunday. It was awesome to see a lot of smiling, happy faces. It was great to see their excitement, even, in spite of everything that's going on. It was a lot of, there was a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of fun that was had by everyone, so it was great to see that. Thank you to the parents. I don't know if we say it enough, but thank you for giving us the privilege and the honor of educating your children. They are all, by and far wonderful students, and we're looking forward to the wonderful adults they'll become. And lastly, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank my fellow board members for spending more than 8 hours, having truly a great time. I've said it before, it is the single best thing we get to do as a school board is hand out those diplomas, and I was right again. And hopefully you all agree with me to some extent. But I wanted to thank Cameron, I wanted to thank George, I wanted to thank Jenny, I wanted to thank Scott, Sean Collins, Mr. Mueller, the principal,
Mrs. Moon, our photographer.
Mrs. Moon, our photographer, our assistant photographer, Jenny again. There are a lot of people, and I know I'm forgetting them, but it really, obviously, or maybe not obviously, there was a lot of stress leading up to that, and there were a lot of questions. From my perspective, it was just wonderful and fantastic. So thank you to everyone, especially the names I've forgotten, for a great event. We've set some new traditions. We're not going to do an 8-hour event again, I hope, but we will do another wonderful event, and thank you to everyone who participated. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Any others? Hearing none, we do have a reason for executive session under the topics of?
To consider the appointment of a public official, to consider the employment of a public employee, to review negotiations with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and to consider matters required to be kept confidential by law.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Roberts, second by Mrs. Hausum. Any discussion? Hearing none, please take the roll.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes. We will go into executive session forthwith. It is currently 8 o'clock. We have no expectation for any other business after executive session. So thank you, everyone, for your attention, and our planning groups are ongoing, and I appreciate everybody's hard work. And we have that idea of each member of the group is going to find at least 10 friends. So please make sure to help us with your input, and we'll make sure to get through this planning stage so that we're ready for school in the fall. Thank you very much.